Thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, Bandits release managing director of Bank of Agriculture threaten other victims of Abuja-Kaduna train attack as families abducted passengers beg President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene. Federal government lift COVID-19 restrictions on midnight curfew and large gatherings 11 months after. And later on the show, court orders federal government to reserve 35% affirmative action for women in public offices. I'll be hanging out with Wale Adeoye and Tony Waji. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. A ray of hope and sign of despondency regarding the abducted passengers of the Abuja-Kaduna train attacked by bandits on Monday, the 28th of March. The bandits released one of the victims, who is the managing director of the Bank of Agriculture, Alwan Ali-Hassan, after 1 week in captivity. But the bandits have threatened to kill other abducted passengers. Meanwhile, families of other victims of the attack have called on President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene and ensure their release from the bandits. Now, we often use this word, bandits. But I changed my mind yesterday when I saw the video, official video, and I said that was released, and I concluded that this is the handiwork of Boko Haram. Yeah. That there might not be a far distinction between bandits and Boko Haram again. Because the way they upload their video, the way they do their propaganda, if you look at the back of the background they were using, a bombed APC, armor personnel carrier, is what they actually used, and they had their faces wrapped and covered up. And the way they did it is not like the conventional those urchins we used to see in the bush again, and it was so organized. That means most of these attacks, or some of these attacks, especially a sophisticated one like this Abuja-Kaduna expressway, is the handiwork of Boko Haram.
There's no doubt about that. If not for the video, there would have been the cliche that bandits attacked unknown gunmen and sort of things. But these are organized groups that are well trained, that have a mission, and that are determined. They use IED, which involves some training before you can plant bombs on a rail track. And it also involves some kind of intelligence gathering that may even suggest they had an idea of who and who.
And you will time it to detonate.
To detonate. They suggested that they had an idea of who and who will be the passengers in that train, because they are high caliber passengers that were in that train. And the timing of that attack and the particular areas where those attacks were carried out, it involved a lot of intelligence. And if you look at that video released by Balama, they were dressed in military camouflage. They also spoke a language that is not indigenous to Nigeria, and they said they were releasing him in the spirit of Ramadan. But we know it's not true. That,
because they don't even respect Ramadan.
Yes, they don't have respect. If you have respect for Ramadan, Muslims. You will not even carry out that kind of atrocity.
They're not.
So it's just mere propaganda, But it's also a confirmation that we are dealing with terrorist organizations, and it's time that we just need to admit so that we know the enormity of the problem at hand.
Now, Tony, this infiltration. These guys, we were looking at people that had aim and objective. The aim and objective is that, look, our government, they've neglected us over time, and this is an opportunity. We are going to go into kidnapping for economic reasons so that we make money. There's a sharp demarcation between these ones and the ones that are saying that, look, Boko Haram, Western education, no to Western education, and we don't want anything. They want to have their own caliphates, have their own destiny. Now, talking in terms of ideology, they might differ, but these rebels, these guys are entered Nigeria to Mali, Libya. We are seeing the handworks now.
So, you see, we've been talking about this for a long time. for a long time. You see that even if they come from Mali or from the borders of Nigeria into the country, the fact is that they are now here. You know, it's not about the camp they belong to. We're having it's now a regular occurrence. It's no longer breaking news. It doesn't shock Nigerians anymore. So the question is, how do we tackle it? I don't know if they look like Boko Haram, or they look like ISWAP, or they look like the ragtag, the ones we normally see. The video, of course. It's like Nigeria is like the next destination for terrorists in Africa, and they are doing well. They are doing well. And I learned the Bank of Agriculture MD paid ransom of 100 million naira. Because I wanted to ask that, why did they single him out? That's just as you said, it tells you that, you know, that attack was premeditated, it was planned. It didn't just happen because they went for a particular coach that has, you know, like a VIP coach of that particular rail train. So it tells you that it was well coordinated. There were information, they were intel, and then they released them. Please, Nigeria, we need to wake up seriously. They were sitting in the comfort of this place. Doesn't mean there's no problem. This happening in the northeast of Nigeria doesn't mean it can come closer. It's getting closer to the federal capital. We keep talking about the same thing. So we have them in the south but then this is where it's coming. I mean, this hijacking, going into a train, a moving train, stopping a train. I've never heard of that in Nigerian history. This is the first time. So it means we have to wake up. Our security system needs to be activated. They need to wake up. They need to go, you know, sit on the table and re-strategize. It's coming close. That is, it doesn't affect us today. It doesn't mean it will not come close. I mean, who knows who's next? When you look at the guy carrying strange. An RPG. Yeah. One of them carrying an RPG, and I look at. They went to a military base in Kaduna State and they overwhelmed the military, killed 12 of them, 14. And that appears to be that appears to be the handwork of another terrorist cell. People are pointing accusing fingers to the Ansaru, which is the de facto faction of Al-Qaeda in West Africa. So you have a situation where you are strong. Yes, you are having pockets. You know, the group was not very active, you know, up to 2015, but it seems it's coming up now. Maybe they have been emboldened by heavily funded. And these are groups that have international connection. Most of their leaders have training in Somalia, in Nigeria, you know. So we are dealing with a very complex problem. And I think, like I said, you know, this happened, you know, in Kaduna and all that. We now need to take proactive measures because Kaduna, Abuja is a prime rail track. Lagos Ibadan is another prime one. So if they can succeed and nothing happens, we should be conscious that they will have next targets. And that means we need to take precautions. Not just the federal government, but the state governments also. They shouldn't just wait for the federal government to say, okay, if you are rail track that passes through your territory, this is the time for you to work out your own intelligence mechanism without necessarily waiting, you know, for the federal government before you have your own shock. Tony, do you think it will be fair to blame the federal government for, you know, their inaction 100%, as in knowing that, look, it just happened that at this point in time, this government is just lucky that this remnant from Libya, Mali, Nigeria is now like a fortress. Yeah, now we know. Yeah, see, we have a problem. We've been able to situate it. The solution is the next. We say we've infiltrated Nigeria, so we know that we know. For help. So what do we? Yeah, exactly. You heard the governor of Kaduna State saying it. Why are we shying away? Can we just do this once and for all? We can't wait and watch these guys come closer to us. It's getting closer to everybody. Whatever that needs to be done now should be done immediately. Immediately. It's not about federal government. No. I think the president meets with the security chiefs like on a regular basis, like weekly, all the time, and they give him information. And at times I wonder, what do they actually discuss? Because I want to see a situation, the meeting after the president, I want to see something different. It's all the same. The chief of defense staff was at the scene. The chief of army staff was there. The inspector general of police were. I mean, you don't need to do all those things. Sit on your job. Do it. You don't need Mr. President to tell you, go and do this. If you cannot function effectively, then resign. People cannot be dying every day. For me, our security system needs to be, we need to rejig it. Things are not working. People are dying on a regular, and now we don't even, they said you have about 190 or 140-something people still missing, unaccounted for. And we are going to bed and sleeping and wake up and eat. Something needs to happen. Something needs to happen. Just as he said, we don't know who's next. Because as we're sitting there plotting again, are we plotting, are we reactive or proactive? We need to change our strategy.
The family of this managing director of the Bank of Agriculture, Alwan Ali-Hassan, or the family of others that were actually abducted, some might have been contacted, some they might not have contacted, but the basic thing here is that I want to believe that this one parted with something before his life was saved. I can't substantiate that, but I know for the man to come, they said they left him off the hook in the spirit of Ramadan. That's like
well,
the family said the exchange.
In line with precedents and tradition of terrorist organizations in Nigeria, it's not likely that anyone will be captured, that high caliber person, and then he will just be released to go on bail without paying something very huge. So there is very strong suspicion
by paying,
that a lot of money, of course, what are they using the money for? They are not investing to businesses. They are not investing. They are not by buying slicker cars. You know, they are investing the money. You know, buy arms. And I know the dangers this poses to our future. The present and also
now the
future.
number of people we can't even see the number of people that are left that have been abducted. A lot of people they've declared they are missing. They've been declared missing. Their family have been coming out to say we don't actually know what has happened. You know,
we actually don't know the number of people in that train. Some people said 962. Some people said 970. We don't have the figures, and we don't have the actual names of those people that are that, and that shows how poorly organized that we are. Because in other countries, 24 hours we have received the list of.
I'm boarding God is good mottos now. I write my name online, and there are so many questions they will ask me.
There are so many volunteers. Some people will buy, you know, that.
So there will be a manifest.
You know that route is very lucrative. Some people will buy and sell. You know, because when you really want to go to Abuja in a hurry from Kaduna. So what usually happens, I've been there before. You get there, there's no seat for you. Then you buy a ticket somebody has already bought.
So you don't need to feast.
Yes, so the name that you may not actually use your name. It happens. Wow. So in an organized system we should have a computer that all the names of people boarding, you know, the train, we will have them in 24 hours. But even now, there's no official figure. You know, people are coming up with all sorts of figures that nobody's really sure. Even the list of those that have been adopted, or no, we don't know them. We don't have the list. So it's like every family is left on its own to take care of its own trauma.
Now, if we have to negotiate with this, if they have to negotiate individually and everything, they will reach out to them and...
Yeah, I'm sure they are doing that individually now. All they just need to do is to collect their phone numbers. And of course, who is going to be waiting for the government? People have to, you know, in a desperate situation, you have to do what is necessary to ensure you secure your loved ones. And unfortunately, some of these people that have been kidnapped, we may never see them again.
Wow. Tony, they threaten that they are going to turn that camp into a butcher camp if people don't pay.
It's a crazy pay, and then at the end of the day, people will pay the ransom. The MD, do not verify, as you said, paid 100 million. Everybody is doing it individually because the Nigerian security system will take time before it gets to the, and before it, so we're not, people rescue one person in Nigeria. Let's be realistic. You know, I mean, and this will they use phone. I don't really understand. That's another angle that baffles me the most. They make these calls with phones, and this is a country where just yesterday, 2 days ago, the Minister of Communication was saying if you don't link your phone with NIN, it's going to be blocked. So I want to know what this wahala is all about. Why are you doing that? If we cannot track these people, they are using a phone. Why can't we track them? They are within Nigeria. And if they are within the fringes of the borders or within the border area, you cooperate with the other country. If I know that we're serious to deal with this issue, we will succeed. If we are really serious, prepared, we succeed. Because you can't just come to a train, take hundreds of people and disappear into thin air. And 2 weeks now, we're still talking about it. We've not heard that government have been able to rescue one person, 2 or 3. Then we're talking about 100. So it's going to take, so individuals are going to do this by themselves. They're going to raise this money and they're going to do it quietly. People have been doing it in Nigeria when the kidnap, because you go to the police, they tell you take your time, don't deal with them. And you don't want your loved one to die. So you're going to go borrow or do whatever, sell properties just to rescue these people. So we're empowering them economically and to continue to thrive. If you don't do the right thing, this business, because I'm seeing it as a business for them, we continue and until it touches, it's going round.
Wale, this is beyond, obviously is looking that this is beyond Muhammadu Buhari. That's our president. Yes, people will say the buck stopped on the stable and everything, but believe if you have this trend, if it persists till next year, whoever becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be inheriting this kind of problem.
Yes.
And you will need a certain approach to tackle this problem head on.
It's going to be more difficult if the system does not produce a competent leader. It's going to be more complex and it may even get worse. We need a leader that is very firm, that is very decisive. We need a leader that is very intelligent, that has knowledge about security, and that is determined to put an end to this. And it's not just about, buying military weapons and all that. You also need to create an economic environment that will make terrorism less attractive. Because this thing has accumulated over the years. People have suffered so much economic derivation. People have lost their jobs. People are in a very desperate situation, and they are ready to do anything to live. You see what is going on even in southern part of the country. A lot of ritual killings, a lot of murder. People, knocking the head of a child on the wall. 2 years of people killing their mothers. So we have been pushed to the extreme of everything. And people, when they are pushed to the extreme, they just want to survive and they will break the law. So it's not just about, corruption. You have to tackle corruption. You have to create an economic environment that will give jobs to people. If you don't do that, Boko Haram and terrorist groups will continue to recruit from the mass of unemployed and hopeless people in our country.
Saying mass of unemployed people, because when you look at the level of unemployment, you look at poverty rate, and all this make their offer, whatever they are bringing, to be enticing, because they keep recruiting. Yes, we keep decimating them, and they keep recruiting. Look at banditry. Look at the way they are spreading their gospel all around the north.
They are firmly on ground now, because I will blame the economy, recruitment, jobs and all that, not there. But then, even if you create that same job, this one is, to them, it's more lucrative. They tested it, and they see that, here, you have some herders still doing, you have some herders doing this job. And to sell a cow, maybe you sell like 150 and all, and then you're making millions. So it's going to take time. Government needs to really sit down. A lot of things needs to be done here. The intelligence about the issues, the intelligence agency, are we really doing enough? Because the government has denied many times that some states in Nigeria, some local governments and communities are not under the control of these people. But we heard from authoritative sources that there are some areas still in their control. There are some ungoverned spaces in this country, which means that is where government has failed. Because if you're a governor of a state, for instance, and some part of your states are not within your control, you're expected to do certain things. If it's too much, call out to the federal government and keep saying, this culture of denial is where we're going. That's the problem we have. When it happens, you say, no, it didn't happen. 10 people died. No, it's 1. Even if it's 1, Nigerian life, our lives in this country matters. It matters. So providing job, good, but we still need to go and do our homework. Things are not working at all. Nigeria invests so much in security. Like yearly budgets. I know what Nigerian army alone, not to talk of the whole defense budget takes. So at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, is it just to buy bullets and guns or APCs and armored carriers and all that? Do they actually invest in intelligence at all? Do we invest? If we do, we shouldn't be having this problem at all. We shouldn't be having this problem at all. We need Nigerians to speak up. That it didn't happen to us doesn't mean people are in that forest not till tomorrow. They don't even have hope. Nobody is reaching out to them. Nothing. We can't continue to run a country this way.
You've Jordan, your group, you've done a lot of alternative dispute resolution, and I've attended some forums. They've said, look, we can't solve it through the military might alone.
Yeah.
Now these guys, they've infiltrated and they've infiltrated our ranks and they're recruiting from our young unemployed people. So what do we do?
10-15 years ago, we had the figures, the number of out-of-school children, in the Northeast, the number of orphans in the Northeast, the number of, jobless people in the Northeast. If you look at the statistics, Northeast is the poorest of the poor in this country. And that is why, when the Office of Statistics comes out every year with figures, it's not just about releasing the figures. We expect people, administrators, to take those figures very seriously. So when you are having fake meeting, Federal Executive Council, it's not just for politicians. The Director of Statistics of Nigeria needs to be there, because when he gives those figures, that should give us projection about what will happen. If they are telling you, this number of students, 1 million, 2 million out of school, then you should know that there's a big trouble coming. So we have the signals, but we fail to take proactive measures to counter them.
All right. We'll take this quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangouts. We'll be right back. Keep your dial locked. Welcome back. It's your favorite news and current affairs program, reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. TVC News. It appears the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic on global affairs is gradually easing. The federal government has lifted the nationwide midnight curfew and limitations on large gatherings, along with other restrictions imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19. According to the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, the removal of all the restrictions was decided in view of the declining number of cases, reduced risk of importation of new variants, as well as availability of vaccines. Data obtained from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, indicate that Nigeria recorded 3,141 deaths from 255,468 cases since the start of the pandemic. Tony, let me start from you. 3,142 deaths from 200,000, over 200,000 cases. Now, Tony, the bottom line is that it's like an avenue for some people to cash out, as in for if you've been out of the country and you are coming in and out, it's such a big agony. I had my experience, so frustrating. After doing the PCR test, I got to the airport and the airline told me that, oh, you can't fly, you can't come back to your country. And I said, why? And they said, you have to do, as in you have to fill a very long winding form and pay 50,000 naira online. So started at the boarding gates. So when you're going, you're expected to do 50,000 naira. When you're coming back, you're expected to do another 50,000 naira. And we're not saying that, look, other countries, they've been relaxing.
The world has gone back, to normalcy. I don't know. I'm happy. Let me say, I'm impressed. Right now, at least we can go back to our normal lives. We know, I don't want to start talking about it here because it will elicit some kind of emotion. I don't want to get.
And we were told that we have close to 30 million people have been vaccinated.
You see, on COVID-19 in Nigeria, we've come a long way. Nigerians have tried. We complied with the instruction. We followed the laid down rules. We obeyed the protocols, and now the world needs to move. We need to move. Yes, we need to move. We need to move. At the airport, we know the story and all that. We need to move. We need to move. And before now, Nigerians they've even moved. They have moved. A lot of people. It's only in some select part of Lagos here and some capitals around Nigeria that people still complied with it. Before the federal government relaxed the rules, or yesterday lifted the embargo and all that. Curfews, people go. Yeah, people go curfews. People go to parties. They go to clubs. The road is busy. No restriction. Nobody is stopping who. There is nothing like curfew. It's easy to face mask. Nobody wears face mask anymore. Long before now. So they were waiting for government. Before Nigerian government reacted, I think a day before Ghana, lifted the embargo and all that. So we need to move. 3 years is not easy.
Does this mean with the with the restriction, relaxed now? Are we? With the presidential steering committee stop this 50,000 naira PCR test?
It should be part of it. Is it not part of it? They said with other, protocols. Is it not captured in it? If it's not captured, then, if it's not captured there, it means that some people are making money from it. I don't know about it.
Okay, what they are now saying now is that maybe if you are vaccinated and you can prove that you are vaccinated.
You're vaccinated. You're not supposed to go through this.
You have a barcode.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've taken the first jab, second jab, and maybe
take the third jab, it's not compulsory.
Yeah, I think first of all, I think I'm glad about the advancement of science. The ability to conquer our environment, and I hope we are going to learn a lot of lessons because the vaccines were developed abroad and they were the mercy of foreign nations. We were not able to develop our own vaccine. And it also means that there are some health challenges that can just come suddenly that we have never seen before. So if your health institutions are not strong, you are going to be at a very great disadvantage. So I think COVID-19 exposed our weaknesses as a country in terms of our health policies. But I also think that this COVID-19 should teach us that basic hygiene, like washing your hands, should be routine.
Should be continuous.
It should be routine. It shouldn't wait until, because we don't know what may come next. That people may not be able to discover them on time. And I also think it is not a blanket. The restriction is not a blanket. It's not an open check. We still have local international travelers still need to abide by the existing protocols. And then indoor activity, you still need to use mask, while outdoor is left for your own discretion. So I advise that we are glad, but then people should still be quite cautious the way they address personal hygiene, and we should not just take it for granted that something like this cannot happen in the future again.
Let me take your mind back. We tend to forget things easily in Nigeria. When you see the plight of those at the IDPs, at the isolation centers, you saw people that had underlying
illnesses.
I saw a lot of people who lost some permanent Nigerians.
It shows that basic health, high blood pressure, diabetes. These are complications that can make one to be vulnerable to any major illness like COVID-19. So
we
need to tackle those.
But this record is telling us 3,142 deaths.
I suspect the figures are more than that. We are not good at keeping records. A lot of people died that I even know, in very suspicious circumstances that there are no records. Some people didn't even go to hospital because they are at home. So I think this figure is just official, but the unofficial figure, traditionally, I think may even be higher.
So, Tony, but this should not be the license for we should continue, and a license to not to stick to those protocols. They are just good, very good to wash our hands, those masks, and keep our
they should be. We still of course we still follow those protocols, but the fact is that the rules has been relaxed. Major cities in the world have returned back to real-time business. We will still, just like washing of hands, wearing of face masks, we still do those things, but what I'm saying is that we need to get our acts. We need to go out there. On this COVID-19, I think I will just leave it at that.
The last time, when you look at the countries that had the worst hits in terms of this COVID-19, when you look at countries like the United States, at the point in time, New York City became like an epicenter. At the point in time, China lost a lot of people. At the point in time, France and Italy,
UK,
the United Kingdom. Those for just, I don't know, maybe it's because of our environment, maybe because of our weather, but we're just kind of lucky that it's not as bad as.
First of all, it's natural that we call it an act of God, but also we must realize that there are certain environmental factors like traveling, in terms of interconnectivity. If you look at the number of people that enter South Africa in a day, for instance, coming from China, from everywhere, we don't have that kind of number of people coming for tourism, for all sorts of things, from France to US. The US, millions of people pass through the airport, entering US, going out. So I think the interaction there, is quite higher than what we have here. And don't also forget that it's not like Lassa fever that started here. It came from abroad, it was imported here. So it limited, transmission of that, especially the new variant that, came to Nigeria very late. And I think Nigerians also took it very serious, at a point. People are washing their hands. People are even taking, orthodox, so many measures, taking hot water. And, I think those things also help. People taking hot water, washing their hands, vitamin C. And I think a lot of Nigerians took it serious, So I think those things help us to beat the...
All right, moving on now. Oftentimes, we are told that the trouble with Nigeria is not the absence of laws, but effective implementation. Despite being a signatory to the 35% affirmation action of women adopted in Beijing in 1995, the implementation in the country is nothing to write home about. Now, Justice Donatus Okoro of the Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the federal government to comply with the 35% affirmative action for women in public offices. Justice Okoro made the order while delivering judgment in a suit filed by women groups challenging the alleged marginalization of women by the government, citing provisions of the 2006 National Gender Policy, the 1999 Constitution as amended, and the Africa Charter of Human Rights and People's Rights. Wale, this is, since that awareness from Beijing 1995, there's been this kind of paradigm shift on the role of women in governance.
I think what the judge did was good. It's just to affirm what is already in our constitution. The gender equity law in 2000 and passed the law, I think 2006 or so. And also the fact that it's in line with global best practices, the African Charter on Women and People's Rights. And the fact that, why are we talking about, women inclusion? We know that, women in terms of population, most countries, women are more. In Nigeria, it's almost the same, maybe 80 to 70 something, proportion of, so they are huge. And even when you are talking in terms of voting, a lot of women are involved in terms of, taking decisions on. But for years, we don't actually give them the kind of role that they need to play. And I think things are changing now. We need to also join the rest of the world. For instance, in Nigeria, out of 36 deputy state governors, we have just about 4 that are women. And we don't have a state that has a woman as a governor. In the parliament, I think we have just about 7 senators. And they're about less than 22 out of 109. Out of about 22 members of the House of Reps.
Out of 360.
Yeah, out of 360. Take Rwanda, for instance. In 2015, I think they had, out of 80 parliamentarians, they had 46 that were women. In Cuba, out of 605, they have about 322 women. So women are critical. They are major stakeholders, especially when you are talking about implementation of policies that have to do with children, that have to do with women empowerment, and many other things like that. So I think our record is just poor. We are not setting good standard for Africa. And I think I like what the judge did, but also there will have been no need for that judgment, because it was just trying to remind us that, look, there's a law that we need to, to abide. We look at all the president aspirants, how many of them are women? The speakers of the House of Assembly. So I think it is time for us to do it the way other people are doing it. We need to give our women a sense of belonging, because they are human beings like us.
It's going to be a tall order for this to pass through the National Assembly. Tony, they attempted it and the participation, but Justice Okoro, Donatus Okoro, has affirmed it and saying that, look, they should be given this 35%. But when you want to look at maybe, would I say, culture, tradition, some part of the country, you dare not raise your voice.
That's where the law comes in. And if Nigeria is a law-abiding country, I will respect the law, obeys the law. I mean, culture, take the second place position here. We've been toying with it over time. Like, what stops you from appointing a woman? How does culture, for instance, inhibit? I know some part of this country, but we have to start from somewhere. Okay, leave those part of the country or those areas in particular. What about others that are not practicing, or that such inhibitions are not there? The fact is that Nigerian politics, as of today, does not recognize the place of women in governance. Let's be realistic. And it's not that women are not doing well. In the private sector, they are doing perfectly well. But when it comes to public sector, where government should recognize, you're drawing a list of commissioners, special advisors, senior special assistant, and all that. And when you take a look at the list, most times, like 10% or 5% women, the female gender is represented. And we keep doing it all the time. When election comes, you look for these women to campaign, to vote for you. You get there. So the question is, it's not about culture. I think it goes beyond that. It's something that has been there over time. And until we start, and I don't blame them when they went to the National Assembly. And you even saw what happened at the National Assembly. For days, nobody listened to them. They were there for days, and though some principal officers of the National Assembly came out to talk with them, but it goes beyond that. When election comes, you need them. Culture does not come at that point, or tradition, or whatever. Maybe clouding their sense of reasoning. But when it comes to appointments, that is when we have to start giving reason. The time has come. They are doing well. I can call names of female Nigerians who are presently doing well, who have done well in the past. We don't have any excuse.
Well, it used to be so bad that in some other part of the country, it was difficult for you to, if you give birth to a girl child, a female as your firstborn, and to inherit your father's property will become war. Yeah. Because they will say, no, you can't. Because, but I think the Supreme Court at the point in time have done that.
Yes. Women have not been given their fair share of the deal. And I think it's a sin. It's ungodly. We need to recognize that they give back to us, and that they are also capable. There is this misconception that they believe women are not competent, which is not true. We have seen women, lead so many countries. Look at Germany, even Britain at the time. Britain produced one of the most influential prime ministers, Thatcher and all that. All over the world, we have seen women, even in Nigeria. Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, Queen Amina, and many other people like that have proved that women are as capable as men. But most of the time, we use them as objects. When it's time, people are having political campaigns, they buy dresses for them to just dance and then, go their way. So I think it's time for us to begin to recognize that they are equal stakeholders, they are partners, if we really want to build a society that, is all inclusive.
Wale gave us the breakdown of the National Assembly, the position of the House of Assemblies across the 36 states, and
even at the federal
encouragement. Now, do you see in any time soon a woman being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
We can do it. We can do it. There's no big deal there. And it has to start from the executive. When you draw a list of ministers, heads of MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies,
always take that into consideration.
Take that into consideration. Let it start from the top. It will go through the states and local governments. Yes, let it reflect. There is nothing big about. I think when we have the right leadership, all these things we take. It's not difficult to do. It's not difficult to do. It's not about buying them wrapper and buying them rice and all those things when the election. And I appreciate the fact that they stood up this time and said, no, enough is enough. Okay, they cannot compete because Nigerian politics now is nocturnal because most of the time it's in the night and of course so that's where the woman cannot effectively participate in Nigerian politics because that's when critical decisions are taken. Okay, now, but start with appointment. Start with appointment. The former president of Liberia was a woman. And in Nigeria here, Dora Akunyele was Minister of Information. Before then, she was not that DG. She performed excellently well since that time. In Nigeria today, I don't even know how many ministers we have. We don't hear about them. The so-called male, gender, what are they doing? We are talking about problem here. We've been talking about insecurity and all that, dominated by men. So why can't you just change it? Try something else. The women, I know they will perform excellently well because they're doing
let me so at the moment. Peter is calling us from Taraba State. Thank you for joining us, Peter.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my contribution on this particular issue are discussing and the one that I just talked about the women affirmative. I believe that just like one of the speakers said, it's from the appointment you have to start because if they talk about elected positions, it will be a bit difficult for now. But for appointment, if they give them their due positions in appointment, you see them, some of them after some years, you see them moving into elected positions also. But for appointment, if they start giving them, I believe the president, any government that will come to do better. And also about insecurity, I believe that our problem is from the leadership because we have gotten to a point that we forget about politics and invite the president, invite the people that matters in this country, invite all people that have a say that this is what is in our hands. We need a solution. But our president doesn't believe in state police. I don't know why. People that will bring, there's a lot of people that can bring in their wealth, contribute money for this insecurity, for us to know what to do. In order that you can put protocols aside, other than every need of more, that every state should organize the security outfit. If the president have time to inspect them, because I believe if it's in my community and I want to protect my community, protect my mother, protect my sisters, brothers, I can put in my life to protect them.
Okay. Thank you for your contribution. Can we achieve that 35% in just one full swap?
Well, certain things are happening. There is a gradual paradigm shift. There was a woman, Folashade Brent.
Yes.
A Yoruba woman.
Yes.
Who became a senator in Adamawa State.
I think she got married to someone from Adamawa.
And the people of Adamawa voted for her. A woman, in Adamawa State, in a conservative state. So it shows that, potentially, we can do it. We can do it. We also have this woman, Aisha Dahiru, who is also from the north. So I mean, from
at the first time we have Senator Okaya Gwalabi.
Yes, so you know we can do it. It's possible. You know, we have seen a lot of precedents that shows that we have the capacity to. You know, you can never imagine a Yoruba woman going to win a lecture in Adamawa State. I mean, the north. That gives us a lot of hope, and I think there are so many beautiful stories like that that tells me that we should not give up.
Tony, that 35%, can we just implement it immediately like that?
It's going to go gradual, definitely, because it's going to be a gradual process. But let's just start somewhere. Let's start somewhere. Let it start from the presidency all the way down. Give them appointments. When you want to appoint ministers, if you're appointing 50, for instance, then why can't you be equal? Or let's say 60-40% to the women. The same thing goes for MDM agencies and parastatals of government. And then it will go down to the states. When the federal is doing it, the state will copy it. That's how we start. Then before they start going into elective positioning and all that, offices, before they can have the guts to now introduce them. Introduce them. Because you can't run the show all the time. You can't. I believe if you're a woman among the security chiefs, something different would have happened. I know. It's not about men. What have we achieved?
The National Assembly. The National Assembly. The First Lady actually went to the National Assembly with some other top government officials, and at least in solidarity with this.
Yeah.
But this bill, I don't see it scaling through.
I think it's good that we have the First Lady appears to be passionate about.
Exactly.
And I hope she will use her, weight. And we have some other women like that, like the First Lady in Ekiti State, BC Fayemi. She's been doing exceptionally well, in terms of promoting gender equity, creating new laws, and to make, and if you go to Ekiti State, that people are so proud of a lot of things that have been done, that could be linked to her. So we need such women all over the country too. Very fantastic.
Yes, Femi is calling us from. Thank you for River State. Okay. Go ahead, Femi.
To your colleagues here.
Yes, good evening, Femi.
I'm talking about the security situation.
Okay.
What is there is that modern war is not fought by the number of men you put on your face, but by the superior technology you deploy. We have everything to deploy superior technology than all these bandits and Boko Haram. Why are we not using them? Because we have everything possible to deploy superior technology to counteract them, which they cannot, they don't even have the means. So if we continue with this way we are doing, we are not going anywhere. And the security architecture of the country is no good. If we don't have state police, we don't have local government police, we are not getting anywhere. Thank you.
That's state police. Because for me, that's the number one.
You mentioned earlier.
That's the number one because
we still have to change the security architecture.
We have to. We are sitting down here. Security, essentially, if you hear there's a problem, they won't go out. So that's number one. Safety of lives and property, number one. So if we're doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, we're not making progress. All it takes is to rejig it. If there are some human elements there that are making it impossible, change them. Learn to sack people when they are not performing. Sack them. There are a lot of people to replace who are eager to do that work. Sack them, sack them. If they are not doing it, sack them.
Well,
because the same people are not working.
You mentioned something earlier. This will become a major campaign issue. But that now Nigerians should know that we should ask question: who are we going to replace Mr. President with?
I think
does he have what it takes?
I think that is the most important point, the most important issue that faces
how do you intend to secure this country?
President Buhari will be leaving, few months' time. The issue before Nigerians now is that who takes over the baton? How competent is the person? How versatile is the person? How visionary is the person? What's this person's background? What is the strategy, the game, the changing, plan, the template, that the person wants to use? So we need to know. So I think it's a very major issue. Like the man, was talking about Sequoia and all that. That train passed through Qatari and Rigani villages. If there had been community policing, those communities would have been involved.
Yeah. When you see some strange videos across the road track.
The IED was planted by a human being, not by a ghost. You went there to plant. Somebody in that village will have seen it. But communities are not involved in policing. So they see it as a property of the government that is just handed over to them. They are not part of it, they are not involved. If those communities where the rail line passes through are involved, they will take possession of that rail line and make sure that if anything happens, they will make sure they report it. So we need to go back to policing that involves community, and that's why we're talking about state policing. If not, then it seems we are yet not serious to deal with these issues.
Tony Waju, I want to thank you for your contribution today.
Thank you so much.
And Wali Aduye, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
And that's where we drop the anchor of today's program. And join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcasts of this episode tonight at 11. And don't forget to join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku.